Did you know that 1 out of every 25 adults in the US has been diagnosed with attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, and that more and more people are being diagnosed each year? So, what causes this? The main factor contributing to ADHD is genetics. 90% of people with ADHD have inherited it from their parents. Some other notable causes which are less common include pregnancy issues, such as being born prematurely or with a low birth weight, as well as if the mother smoked or drank while pregnant. Another potential cause could be suffering a traumatic brain injury to the frontal lobe of the brain, or the part of the brain that impacts the ability to plan and make progress towards a goal. But for the large majority, it's genetic. Whatever the cause, if you suspect that you might have ADHD, it's worth knowing which type you have. While many people think ADHD is just one disorder, there are actually 3 different types of ADHD, depending on what combinations of attention deficit and hyperactivity you display. So today on How to Charisma, we're going to look at these 3 types and the symptoms of each so you can understand what type of ADHD you have. Number 1, predominantly inattentive. With this type of ADHD, you don't show signs of hyperactivity or impulsivity. Instead, the main sign is that you're easily distracted and have trouble focusing. You might be able to sit still in class or in a work meeting without fidgeting or feeling the need to move around, but your mind wanders and you can't stay focused. Another indication that you have this type of ADHD could be an inability to stay organized. You might forget to pay a bill or get distracted in the middle of a task. Let's take a look at the show Modern Family for an example of someone with ADHD, predominantly inattentive.
Pretend you're telling the story of his life to someone who has never heard of him. What do you put on that board? I see the wheels spinning, the spark of
How did they
creativity.
get the lead and pencils?
In this clip, Luke struggles with this type of ADHD. As you can see, Luke can stand calmly and talk with his dad without feeling the need to move around or fidget, which would be more like the next type of ADHD we'll talk about. However, Luke does have trouble focusing and gets easily distracted. Though he's supposed to be focused on brainstorming his school project, he gets distracted by the pencil his dad hands him and asks how the lead got into the pencil. These are key signs of inattentive ADHD as he gets distracted easily and his mind wanders. Now, let's look at the second type of ADHD, which is predominantly impulsive or hyperactive. This is actually the least common type of ADHD. With this type, you don't really get distracted or have trouble focusing. Instead, the more prominent signs are that you might feel the need to move constantly or fidget, otherwise known as hyperactivity. You might also struggle with self-control or impulsivity. With ADHD, impulsive or hyperactive, you might actually be able to read a textbook and absorb all of the information. However, you may feel the need to fidget with your pencil, squirm in your seat, or bounce your leg up and down. You might also struggle with self-control or impulsivity, like interrupting people, talking nonstop, or blurting out the answer to something in the middle of class or a work meeting. The movie Captain America: Civil War shows how someone with ADHD, impulsive, or hyperactive acts. In this example, Spider-Man displays clear signs of this type of ADHD.
Nice job, kid.
Thanks. Well, I could have stuck the landing a little better. It's just a new suit. Wait, it's nothing, Mr. Stark. It's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't really need to.
As you can see, Peter Parker is impulsive, talking non-stop and blurting things out. He's also moving around constantly and is unable to keep still, which is common in someone who has this type of ADHD. Let's go to our last example of ADHD, which is the most common type of ADHD. Number 3, ADHD Combined. This type of ADHD affects most people. With ADHD Combined, you have impulsive and hyperactive behavior. You also get distracted easily and struggle to maintain attention. In other words, you exhibit signs of both ADHD inattentive and ADHD impulsive or hyperactive. To see this type in action, let's look at a clip from Modern Family, this time with Phil, who is Luke's dad.
This thing is really loose. I'm gonna go grab a screwdriver, but you run with this. On your mark.
That's where I left those.
What happens when Phil goes to grab a screwdriver to fix Luke's chair? He immediately gets distracted by the flickering garage light. Then, in the middle of fixing that, he again gets distracted when he sees his missing sunglasses. He then impulsively stops his first task to try to get his sunglasses. This is pretty much the definition of easily distracted and impulsive. He's also physically moving around a lot, unable to sit still. When we talked about ADHD earlier, we discussed the challenges people with ADHD have with planning towards goals. When we see Phil in this scene, this becomes clear. Phil has trouble staying focused on one task at a time, which makes it hard for him to finish things to completion. I hope this video provided you with some insight into what type of ADHD you may have. Having ADHD shouldn't stop you from doing the things you want to do. Yes, it has its challenges, and you might wonder how you can function if you have one of these types of ADHD, or both. Fortunately, you're not alone. If you feel that you have ADHD and it's affecting your life, we'd recommend seeing a professional and learning how they can help you. Remember that the first step in fixing something is recognizing it. So by understanding that you might have ADHD, you're well on your way to learning how to better function with it. If this video has been helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.